And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Now that the Sherlock Holmes license is in public domain, there are a lot of games that are talking about it. Today we're taking a look at one of them, Beyond Baker Street. In this game, you, cooperatively, are against Sherlock Holmes. You're not the bad guys. You're just simply trying to solve the case before him. He's brilliant. You have a group of people. You can play 2, 3, or 4, working together cooperatively. The twist of this game is that you cannot see the cards in your own hand. Everyone else can see them. Here it is. In this game, players are going to be attempting to solve the case. They're going to figure out the motive, the suspect, and the opportunity. So these are going to be randomly placed here. There's 3 of each card placed. One of them is turned face up out of a whole lot of different possibilities that can be there. The most important part of this game is going to revolve around this deck of evidence cards. There are 24 cards in this deck, numbered from 1 to 6 in 4 different suits. Each of those suits is a different color and has a different symbol on it. The rest of the stuff is just kind of there for thematic purposes. Now, you're going to play with a case file card. There are several of these provided with the game, and basically they're one of the ways that you can determine how difficult the game will be. So this is level 1. It's the simplest one. It tells you where Sherlock Holmes will start. The harder the cases get, the closer he'll get to home. And it tells you the card limit for the impossible, which is over here. Also, each player is going to randomly, or you can pick, or whatever, get a character. These characters will do different things. The number at the top is basically just to help figure out who goes first. The pipes at the bottom show you how much they help the game or not. So having Inspector Lestrade in your game is an amazingly useful thing for your game, while Inspector Bradstreet, well, he doesn't help very much. Because some of them give negative things, some give positive things, special abilities and such, and they add also historical flavor to the game. So each player will get one of those. You can play without these if you want. Now in this game, you're going to have a hand of cards. The thing is, you're going to hold your hand of cards like this. So everyone else can see what you have in your hand, but you cannot. You are trying to figure out the cards in your hand. To win the game, you are going to need to play cards underneath the different, opportunity, the suspect, and the motives that are equal to the suit and the number. So for example, here with the 8, I would need a 3 and a 5, or maybe a 6 and a 2, or whatever. It has to equal exactly 8. I have to do all 3 of those, but I also have to get this evidence all the way over to 20. So there's many ways to lose. If Sherlock Holmes gets here, if the deck of cards runs out, there are several different ways that players can lose. On their turns, players have an action. One of the actions you can do is an assist action. You can look at someone else's hand and give them some information about their hand. It's about a number or color. So I could say, this card here is a 1. I could say, these 2 cards are blue. Or I could also use the man with the hat, whatever I want to say. So players have to give all the different cards, though. I can't say, this card is blue. If I use blue, I have to use both of these cards. If I say 2, I can say this one, because that's the only card with a 2. However, every time you assist somebody, Sherlock Holmes is going to move 1. But you can see by giving people clues about assisting, they can hopefully figure out in their hand what the cards are that are in their hand. A player can also investigate. That's playing a card from their hand down in front of a pile. Now, hopefully it's the right color. If it's the wrong color, let's say they played it here, then this number comes up to the top and is added to that. And so now you have to get 17 on this pile. And hopefully it doesn't make it go over. If it makes it go over, the whole thing's busted. This card goes over to the impossible pile, and the new card comes up, and you have to get that card now. These are also discarded, which is a pretty big deal. So you're not going to want to turn these over too often, because they're going to go to this impossible pile. So that's investigate. That's an action you can have by playing these down. You can also confirm. This is kind of like just something that needs to be done, but if you have the right colors and numbers, so let's say I have a 3 and a 4 here underneath the 7, I can confirm this. You need to confirm all 3 of them to win. However, you cannot confirm all 3 until you get to 20. If you confirm them early, then you will lose. You can eliminate. That is to get rid of a card in your hand, again, just guessing, and putting it in the impossible. The impossible here are things you eliminate. Due to the famous quote of Sherlock Holmes, that once you eliminate all things that are impossible, whatever is left, no matter how improbable, is true. When you discard a card to the impossible, using that method, you will move this over. You are trying to get this, again, to exactly 20. However, there's a card limit for the impossible. Once you go over that card limit, every time you add a card to it, Sherlock Holmes will move forward 1. And then finally, there's Pursue. That's where you'll get rid of one of these lead cards. For example, here I have 2 browns. I might think that's too hard, so I get rid of that one and put a new one up there to get. And players are going to continually doing these actions until they have somehow either won the game together or lost. Now in the rule book, there's some very nice thanks that the designers do, and they thank DC people and they thank playtesters and things like that. I'm really surprised that they did not thank the designers of Hanabi. Because if you've played Hanabi and you've played this game, you will realize that there's a lot of overlap there. This game is definitely a similar concept to Hanabi. Now, I was kind of lukewarm on Hanabi. I liked it, but it wasn't fantastic. It was fine. I like this one better than Hanabi. And I'll tell you why. It feels like Hanabi, but for gamers. First of all, I love the theme. I also love the adjustable difficulty level. Because you can pick, the case file at the beginning, which kind of sets the main difficulty, and then the different characters you take. In one game I played, we specifically lost because of one character. We would have won had that character not existed. But we could have done better if we had played better throughout the game. So I feel like it's such an interesting concept. I always have a little bit of difficulty in these games not looking at my own cards. It's just a natural thing to grab cards and hold them and look at them. To hold them so everybody else can see them, that's a little bit tougher of a task. But it is the concept of this game, and so you have to figure out, okay, how do I give clues to people to help them figure out the cards in their hand without moving Sherlock Holmes so far? And not only do you need to move him, but you need to get rid of evidence, so you're trying to figure out the colors. You also need to figure out numbers. The way you give clues is a part. You can't think like this is a 6. No, but if I say, you have a 6 in your hand, you have to sit there and think, why did he just tell me I have a 6? That one needs a 6 to be completed. That's probably what he meant, right? And you can give each other kind of clues just when you say things. And so there's some of that going on, and also you have to get rid of the evidence and into the impossible pile and get those cards there. You obviously want to get rid of big cards there, but at the same time you wanted to use big cards to solve the case. All this, yes, the Sherlock Holmes theme, you're going to be very tired of it by the time 2016 is over. I think there's like 6 games that have it coming out. But the Sherlock Holmes theme fits well here. It's full of the characters, the artwork is good, the game just has a good look when it's on the table, and it doesn't take a long time to play. The box says 30 minutes, and I feel that that's pretty accurate. It works pretty well with 2, 3, and 4 players, all the different player counts. It's not a very big footprint, and I think it does what it's supposed to do. Now, if you hate Hanabi, you probably won't like this game. If you love Hanabi, I think you'll like this, although you might say, there's more in this game. And you may or may not like that. I like that more stuff going on and trying to figure out, okay, we need to put those cards here. I don't need these cards at all, this color red, so I can chuck those over to the pile. Again, that clue, if I say, that card's red, and you're like, I have one red card, but red's not one of the motives out there. Hey, that probably means it's a high red card, and I should throw it over here. Things like that, you get, it's one of those games I think you'll lose the first time you play it. But if you play it with the same group, you'll know a little bit more about why and how people give clues. Pretty interesting, has a deductive feel to it, which would make sense in a Sherlock Holmes game. So check it out, Beyond Baker Street. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.